Chapter 20. Absolutely no control. 10th of October, 2000. Dear Diary, I've always taken everything for granted. Never once did I realize how special my eyesight or my ability to walk or talk was. I didn't think once how important each of these abilities was, until they were no longer there, until they were no longer performed in the way that they always had done for the past 17 years. Just imagine having everything but not knowing how wonderful it is until it was gone. I do regret now not realizing how fantastic my life was and how amazing our bodies are. I do also regret not knowing or believing that I could have anything I wanted. Now it may be a little limited, but only moderately. I can do anything if I try hard enough. I am sure I can. The MS started with my eyesight, optic neuritis, whatever that is, and balance problems. These symptoms reminded me of being very drunk and having no control on your arms, legs, or balance. The symptoms stayed, but then I went completely black blind for short periods of time. The MS seemed to be totally in charge of what I was doing. If it was having a bad day, then I was having a bad day. The eyesight moved on to complete paralysis, where my whole body ignored every request I made of it. I was obviously getting worried. What is going to happen to me? Will I be going in and out of these MS attacks for the rest of my life? My bladder was the next thing to ignore my requests. I wet myself on a number of occasions. It is incredibly embarrassing when you don't even know you are going to the toilet and end up with the liquid running down your leg. Imagine being in a crowd of friends and realizing that you have wet yourself. There was no control at all, and I didn't even know I needed to go to the toilet. This symptom took away all of my self-confidence. Imagine having absolutely no control of your everyday jobs, like going to the toilet. I felt awful. My life was a complete mess. The next embarrassing moment was the complete opposite, when I felt that I was desperate for the toilet. I was rushing to find the nearest toilet, pushing in the queue because I was so desperate, but then not being able to go. What a strange moment. I walked out into the large queue and I had to apologize profusely because I had been so eccentric and didn't even need the toilet in the end. I've never blushed so much in my life. My 5'7" frame shrank to mere centimeters. MS annoyed me because I didn't have any idea what was going to happen next. I had similar problems with my bowel as I had with my bladder, each as catastrophic as the last. I ended up wanting to either stay in the room all day just in case my body ignored my requests, or to kill myself, ending these uncertain fears. In my mind, it would have been easier to have been dead and not have to put up with all of these embarrassing situations than to have to worry about possible consequences every minute of my life. My mum was always very strong for me, and she often helped me clear up the mess and wipe away my tears. When everything you have always taken for granted disappears, you are left with nothing, and the dark, empty feeling is the loneliest possible moment you could ever imagine. The fact that things you have known since you were a baby go against all of your beliefs and all of your dreams. The dark tunnel opens and you are pushed inside. There is no visible way out, and the ground starts sloping downwards. I was very depressed, and when my mum offered me a meeting with a psychiatrist, I grasped it with open arms. Somebody, anybody, please help me. Get me out of this black hole. I went to see the psychiatrist and she listened to my every word. I finished a non-stop 40 minutes of tears and forcing my words out before she said, "You have had a hard time. Imagine you have died and are in the grieving process, but will soon be over this, and then you can get out and get on with your new life." A new life? I thought, I don't want a new life. I want my old life, the one I was leading before, because that had been wonderful. I don't want to die and then have to reinvent a new person. I liked me. I liked being in charge of my life, and I liked knowing what my body was going to do. I don't want a new life. After many trips to see the psychiatrist, I started understanding why I had to die in order for me to get better. I had MS for the rest of my life, and so all I had to do was try to come to terms with this, and then start rebuilding my life to pick up all those shattered pieces. I grew strong in this period of time, and I realized that if I keep the pain inside, nobody else gets hurt. I also got used to the pain in my left hand and arm, and I started trying to use my hand more, even through the pain. This meant that I could hide it without anyone else having to know I was hurting. My eyesight caused a little bit more trouble with the continuous jumping and blurry double vision. I often watched TV with my family, but on many occasions I couldn't make out what was happening on the screen. I pretended that I was enjoying the show, but really, I couldn't see anything, and I was only enjoying the company of my family. At least twice a day I walked into a wall or a door. I would misjudge where I was, and my eyesight just didn't work well enough to see where I was going. This still happens now, and I walk into the edge of a wall or door where I have not seen the distance quite well enough. Going downstairs, I can't see that the step or that the second step is lower than the first. This is quite a dangerous problem, but I have got used to watching what the person in front of me does, and I therefore know if there is a step coming up. Looking through the negative parts of my illness, I see now how I can be called disabled, even though I look exactly the same as I did when I was considered to be able. I think disability is described by having absolutely no control on some or all parts of your body. I now consider myself to be a little bit disabled, but hopefully this disability won't get any worse and that I will remain mildly disabled for the rest of my life. I used to get stupidly drunk so that I could forget all my problems. Maybe one day after getting very drunk, I will be reborn without MS, without the sore arm, without the bladder issues. Maybe this alcohol will have a chemical reaction with my MS and make me all better again. Maybe I will just wake up and realize that this part of my life was just a bad dream. Getting so drunk whenever I went out, I think, was a reaction to my depression. I needed to be worried about something else for a change. My illness was no longer the main thing on my mind as the drink took over, and I didn't care what would happen. I didn't mind if I fell over when I was drunk, as this is what you are meant to do. The drink makes you fall, and happily you get back up again. With the MS, it drags you down, and you have to fight with yourself to even think about getting back up. The tension in your face is not a smile and laughter, but instead is a grimace of disgust, and you have lost again. The MS is in charge, you are down, and you have absolutely no control. The illness is in control. The MS, on this occasion, has won.